Next up on our agenda is a session which is focused on the cloud journey from strategy to transformation. And I would like to introduce you all to Mr. Milind Korgaonkar, CIO and CDO for 𝗏𝗏 Electricals Limited. Mr. Milind is an IT strategist and digital transformation leader with over 25 plus years experience, out of which 13 plus years working as head IT. He has strong record of success in managing and delivering enterprise resource management and complex IT projects with core experience in lead and supported large-scale technology enablement initiatives with business-infused design and governance across multiple geographies. With this, over to you, Milind, and can we have a huge round of applause for him?
Hi, good evening, everyone. I think it's the last session. There's one more session after this, a panel discussion. But then I'll try to be as quick as possible, trying to answer most of the questions through. But I'm going to talk across more of my experience, and the strategy to transformation is from a point of a CIO. So when we talk about cloud has been there from 2002 when AWS first came across with the public cloud scenario. My experience with cloud started somewhere in 2014-15 when we started evaluating cloud for my previous company. And while we were looking at the cloud, if anybody asked me what was the reason for which we are looking at cloud, I think most of these particular reasons which we put across on the board were not making sense to me at that time. But then the whole idea was that, can it help me in the future? The technology was evolving, and looking at the technology, we try to think across what should be the part which we should be controlling across on. So first and foremost was the planning for it. In 2010 to 14, when we used to work across on SAPs, it was the hardware servers were something which we used to put across a CapEx onto. And most of the servers which were there were not bought at a one time. So it was a gradual purchase which was happening. And when if you require to move across on a cloud, the call which we had to do across was that existing servers, what to do about it? How can we be able to manage the CapEx moment of it? So we deliberated a lot, and then we tried to work along with one of the private cloud partners, saying is that whatever servers which we have got in our data centers, we'll try to move across into your particular data centers, and any new service which you are buying, we'll buy from you directly as a private cloud solution provider, and that worked for me. And then that's the goal which we work across on, was that how can we do in a small way, but in a gradual way, moving across all our critical applications over there. Now, when we look into cloud as an option, we put up a plan, we put across saying what activities which we should be looking at. Do I require to go across on a private cloud or on public cloud? Which partner to look into? So we did a lot of evaluation. We tried to understand which are the use cases. And we took a call of moving across with certain particular SAP load initially to go across on a cloud, even before SAP HANA came into picture. And then along with the cloud comes across its own sets of governance, be it with respect to data, be it with respect to security. But when I look into cloud, specifically on a public cloud, the more it comes across on a FinOps, the cost management part of it as a part of a governance. Security compliance, again, the same part which was continued, which was there on-prem, moved across onto the cloud, but in a different flavor. But the most important part which I felt was that my process changed when I moved from the on-prem to the cloud. And hence I required to develop new skill sets with a new different type of people and the processes. So all of those were all integral parts of my strategy which we looked into. Now when we decide to go across on a cloud, and if you look at this particular business goals, most of you can get aligned with this business goals. Most of the companies either will be looking at increasing the top line or reducing the cost or having a business agility. And from that perspective, when we try to look into align what type of prioritization which we require to go across on it. So while in 2014-15 we took a call of moving across with the workload of ERP on a cloud, in 2017 when we were looking across on setting up our own data lake, that time we took a call saying is that we'll not know what kind of a service we require to buy across with, how much will be the data which we'll be carrying through, what kind of a compute power will be required across on. So there were multiple if solutions which we didn't have the answers to. And hence from that perspective, when we looked into, we felt cloud was the right way to go across on. So we took a conscious call of going across on a cloud on a data lake for our data part of it. So prioritization was key, defining the process was key. Again, which cloud suits you? There are multiple sets of cloud, private cloud, public, or hybrid. So depending on your nature and depending on your particular activity, we took a call. So for me, for the data lake, public cloud was good to start off with. But for my ERP, initially in 2014-15, I had moved across on a private cloud. Gradually, over a period of time, we moved from a private to public when we moved across on SAP HANA. But when you look into it, it's a journey when you put across trying to choose the right cloud for it. And the whole idea was that, can we be able to define the success matrix for it? What are we trying to achieve? Are we trying to look into from a point of agility? Are we looking at a scalability? Are we looking at a cost? So against those particular metrics, we try to measure our particular performance across onto. So as a CIO, when I was trying to drive across a cloud as a transition, I normally feel is that cloud from a business perspective, it's more a IT or a digital particular decision which a company will prepare to take across onto, and hence it's more a CIO who is going to champion it across on. He would have to work across, he or she would have to work across along with the business stakeholders, build up a business case, put across the vision why a company is trying to move across on a cloud. And while going across on those particular environment, when you push across on a cloud, planning the strategy, again, is more important. The way which we discussed earlier, what solutions are we going to put across on a cloud? What is the particular methodology in which it goes through a cloud? So, and the planning part of it. So that's critically managed by a CIO. He would have to champion it. He will have to roll it. He will have to push across onto it. Again, choosing of a partner, putting across a process of adoption across onto it. That's something which the CIO will have to put across his efforts across on. And always security and governance, when it comes across, it's more top-down than coming across as a feedback from the bottom-ups. So when it comes to security, which was there on-prem, similar security governance with respect to the new age cloud, those changes is something which CIO will have to look into it. A most important part which I felt was that while those are some of the areas which was internal to IT, internal to digital, which CIO normally is more than equipped to handle, he or she has to do the difficult part of connecting with the business, aligning with the business goals and the timelines. When and how are we going to migrate into the new cloud environment? And obviously, when you look into from a new systems, new applications, new services, cloud as a first point of a check is something which the CIO will have to take a call across on. This slide is a basic slide. I'll just try to put across all of it. Sorry about the slide. It's done by one of my team members. It covers most of the process, but I'll try to give some examples on each of it with respect to my experience when I did the particular migration. So when it comes across on evaluating the cloud, we debated across, does the private cloud make sense for us, or a public cloud, or a hybrid to work across on? And depending on the applications, we took a call saying is that we'll start small, we'll start in an area with the private cloud, gradually put across the environment where we are comfortable with, and slowly move across on a public cloud part of it. And to achieve it, we did certain particular minimum viable products, or we did a small POCs, which we found it to be successful, and we put across. Now coming across on planning again, which we spoke across, the strategy to migrate, which applications will go on a cloud, which applications are required to do a lift and shift, which are the applications which are required to actually make it native cloud enabled. Now those, looking at the application, looking at my current state of environment, we took a call on saying which, and put up a plan for it. We identified the types of workloads and type of the CPU utilizations which are required to work across on, so that estimations is all part of the planning process which you look into. Now just before putting the systems across on, the most important typical work across is in the project planning and executions. In most of this environment, when you look into it, there's a multi-sprints environment when you're putting across on a cloud. It may not be a one particular big bang approach, but multiple small sprints which are going to put across on. And hence the planning, the communication, and ensuring that the projects are working across on the schedule is something which is more critical to work across on. Last, when it comes across on when you're adopting, when you move across on a cloud, it's a change of environment, change. Even if you're doing a lift and shift, the integration part of it, or even when I looked into one of the example when I moved across certain particular environment, my integrations which were working across on-prem, because it was on the local network, was not same as working across on the public network, where I require to have a certain different ways of connecting it and passing it across. Now those are the areas where you require to be there, understanding it all beforehand when you're actually moving across onto it. So adopting the part of it, integrating it. Second, when you look into from a point of adoption, erstwhile I had the different set of team which were supporting me on the infrastructure support. Going across on a cloud, the different skill sets were required, different people were required to manage and put across. And also look into from a point of the training to the application team on how and what they should be looking at when they look into from a point of moving across on a cloud. So just to give an example, in 2010, when I initially moved across on SAP, we took a call saying is that what is the infrastructure depending on how many SAPs the server required for. And looking at the SAPs, we used to negotiate on the server and taking into consideration next 5 years of growth, because that CapEx which we deploy across is the same CapEx which we'll use for the 5 years. But when it came to the cloud, we try to work across what is the best way in which I can able to start with the architecture and the sizing which are required for the year 1. Can I able to grow and scale up in year 2 or year 3 and then subsequently looking into it. So the way of calculations, way of trying to size it across was different. So hence, when you look into from our adoption, different type of processes, different skill sets were required. Governance, again, same critical part which comes across, be with the security or with the compliance, be it with any of the HIPAA or any other particular compliance methodology you require to be compliant with, is a part which is required. Cost on a cloud, specifically, if you don't control it, it goes out of control. And hence, my learning was that in first year or so, when we initially started with the public cloud, we didn't took a call of trying to identify which servers to shut down, which data backups to be removed, which is the data retention policy to be followed. So some of the things which we were used to on-prem was something which we had to unlearn when we moved across on a cloud, and hence that was the area where we felt we should be looking across on. Coming across more from a point of service management, the services team which I had earlier, I think one of the panel members said something earlier as well. The team which he used to keep across, I think Pawan spoke across on it, for the supporting of my infrastructure, be it Wintel, the infrastructure team for the servers, the Unix part of it. Now moving across on a cloud, that actually brought it down. The skill sets were different, sizing were different, the people who were supposed to manage were different, and that's the service management process was different, which we had to put across on. Post going across on a cloud, again, the process of change management also evolved, trying to look into setting up a new particular environment, new particular process, new particular infrastructure which requires to be deployed across on. Because earlier, any of those were part of a CapEx and there was a lengthy process to go through, but now with your cloud, just to give an example, yesterday night there was a problem with one of my server and on the development part, and I had to size up a different server. I could do it within hours, and then the new server was up and running with the backup which was restored across, which meant that I required to have a proper set of a change management and then somebody to control it across on. Typically the incidents which comes across, monitoring, and the most important was the capacity planning. So when we look into cloud again allows you multiple states and flavors of it. So you have got software as a service. The good example is Microsoft O365, which you may be using across, which is just a service. People who are working across on ERP, when you are moving across on SAP RISE, that's again as a software as a service. So gone are the days where you are even looking after of any infrastructure requirement or any sizing requirement or application to manage it across. So you only focus across on the number of licenses which are required, focus across on application part of it, focus across from the business process part of it, then trying to work across on the back-end IT which we talk across. Similarly, when you go across on a platform as a service, a few of the areas where I use platform as a service is put across a lot of mobile apps which we are developing in-house or certain particular websites which we manage across on. company are part of the PaaS which we work across on. A lot of in-house low-code, no-code applications which we work across. Again, they are on the platform as a service which you take it across on. And the last part which we look into is infrastructure as a service we do currently use. We use it for the data lake. Even in the new organization which I'm part of it, my complete data lake, my complete the data warehouse is used as an infrastructure as a service. There are certain particular applications which are not cloud native and which are required to migrate to cloud. We did a lift and shift and put across as a custom application which goes across. A good another use case is for a disaster recovery and backup. So if you're looking at having a copies of your backups to be stored across on, that's another use case where you can able to use IaaS on. And any of this, nothing is right or wrong. Depending on your need, depending on the business requirement, you choose which suits your need and you work across onto it. So taking it up further, when you start across private cloud, typically you know which are your servers, you know where are your particular storage, you know your network, you are able to understand and physically touch it across. So it's in your particular control. You have got a complete dedicated environment which is across for you. But when you go across on hybrid, it's a mix of a public and a private cloud, which offers you the scalability of a public, it offers you a security of a private, and then goes across on a public cloud, which could be more cost efficient, more as a automatic as a service. Proud to say in Bajaj Electricals, we are currently a complete cloud company. We all our particular applications either software as a service or hosted on a public cloud. We are even moved across on a data center and a private cloud. So everything is on a cloud, and I believe that's the way which I foresee. More and more, I would not be looking after infrastructure. I may not be looking after the security part which goes underlying the infrastructure and manage applications, manage more business facing requirement which comes through. So again, security and compliance are most important. It was there on-prem, it is there when you are on the cloud, but the way you look into has changed. So be it on your data security, access control, it's all required to be controlled across, defined across the way you want to. Again, as per the compliance regulations now tomorrow with respect to DPDPR or on a data lake, you define to put across the process across onto. Govern the data, have a particular data lifecycle management, put across data retention policies, work across. Identify the risk when you're putting across on a cloud, mitigate it as much as possible, and most important, try to get your employees trained across onto. So few of the lessons which I learned over the past more was that when I look into as a CIO, I would like to known across as more as a business leader than an IT leader. And if I'm going to work along with the business, I should be more working across on a business-related problems, business-related issues in a way in which we can able to deploy the IT or digital, be it with respect to analytics, be it with respect to Industry 4.0 or ChatGPT or AI, which comes through, which are more front-end by a part. So move away from the back-end, look into more in the front-end. That's the philosophy in which I work across on. And hence from that, I always felt cloud was a boon. And moving away from infrastructure, moving away from managing the infrastructure is where we are focusing across on. When it comes across more, and I struggle it a lot when I work across earlier also, to make a business case out of cloud. And when you look into the OpEx-based model compared to your CapEx, it's always found that your cloud is costly. But believe me it or not, if you take the holistically a 360-degree view, depending on the cost which you spend across on infra, the support, the security, a lot of hidden or indirect costs, if you can able to chart it out properly, you'll find it's not as expensive as you think across. And from the future perspective, it lowers the total cost of ownership. Meter is always running, so if you don't have your particular environment on a 3-year RI, if you don't control it across, I have even after working on a cloud for 8-10 years, I have seen it across is that nazar hati durgatna gati. So once you don't try to look into which particular smaller area, you find that something or other has been leaking across on. So you require to control your leaky buckets. Start small. You may find certain particular use cases which you think are cloud part of it, and then you start scaling it up across. And the last part which comes across is that any new innovations, any new particular applications, if you can look into a lens of a cloud first, I think that would be a better approach than trying to put across on existing infrastructure which you do. Thank you. If any questions, if there are more.
Thank you so much, Milind sir. Please stay back, and I'll request Mr. Tejas from L'Oreal to come forward and felicitate him.
Thank you, Tejas.
Very
Thank
complimentary.
you. Thank you.
Can we hear a huge round of applause for him? Thank you so much once again.